James, welcome to the Seamus Show, mate.
How are you, mate? Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks so much for meeting me. Really cool to kind of connect with someone because I have just started my jiu-jitsu journey and I suck. And you have 4 black belts in
Yes.
different. So you've got jiu-jitsu black belt, karate, taekwondo, and Budo Jissen or whatever.
Jissen Budo.
What the hell is that?
Jissen Budo. So it's I guess you could call it Japanese mixed martial arts, but with the gi. So it's basically kudo. So kudo, they wear the traditional jiu-jitsu kimono. You're also allowed to headbutt. So you wear the headguard gear as well. So it's all elements. So I guess you could call it MMA, but with a gi on. So you can strangle. You can throw. It has elements from judo, jiu-jitsu, everything.
That's hectic, man.
Yeah.
And okay, the thing on my mind is this is obviously like the biggest hypothetical that everyone wants to talk about. Is which martial art is the superior martial art? And for someone who's got 4 black belts, which one, in your opinion, is the best? Or is it the individual who's fighting rather than the actual discipline that they've learnt?
Yeah, I think there's no one size that fits all. I do think that all martial arts have a place in fighting. So I think initially, if we're talking about children, so I like to work from the ground up. So I think jiu-jitsu is a good place to start. Reason being is because there's a bullying epidemic, it's not advisable for another child to hit another child in the playground. So jiu-jitsu neutralizes a threat, but in a more humane way. It deals with an altercation in a humane way. So obviously jiu-jitsu can be very destructive as well. You can win by a choke or an arm lock or something like that. But I think children can learn and understand that as far as striking and hitting and inflicting damage to a bully, they can just learn to control them. But then I think as you move more and more into martial arts in general, then I think striking comes into play as well. So jiu-jitsu will teach you how to clinch. It'll teach you how to grapple. It will teach you how to hold someone down. It'll teach you how to use technique, leverage, to your advantage, in particular if they're bigger, stronger, fitter, faster, they have every other physical attribute that we don't have. So I think jiu-jitsu is an amazing martial art for kids to start with initially. And then from there, I would broaden out to other things. So then the next one I would think of would be Muay Thai. Muay Thai is amazing. So I've done Muay Thai as well. The art of 8 limbs originated in Thailand, but it's very, very effective because it teaches real world applications, how to clench, especially from a collar tie, especially if you're grabbing someone by the neck and you're throwing elbows, you can throw knees and things like that. Muay Thai, very, very effective. And then I'd branch off into some boxing as well. So boxing especially, which is extremely effective, especially learning how to punch, how to parry, how to move your body, how to move your head side to side, especially to evade punches. It teaches you about footwork. It teaches you about distance management. Now you're starting to sort of grasp a foundation of different fighting tools. So you've got the ground game. We don't want to go to the ground unless we have to. But if we do get taken to the ground, it will be because it would be against your will. Learning how to be able to get back to your feet is an important skill. So I think if I was a parent and I was looking to get their child into martial arts, I'd start with jiu-jitsu first, start from the ground and then work my way up, just kind of like a triangle. So jiu-jitsu is the foundation. Is it the most effective above all, be end all? No.
Okay. Which one is then?
I don't think any martial art really is the above all, be all, end all. I think if we look at fighting for what it is, if we look at self-defense, for example, okay, so your ability obviously to be able to neutralize a threat, to be able to run if you need to be able to get to safety, be able to protect others. You also have to look at bystanders, multiple attackers, weapons in the equation as well. So I think initially it really comes down to my core principles, and especially because I teach martial arts, I teach Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, is I have a heavy focus of self-defense first. That's what I first start with. Self-defense, and then I move on if the person wants to do competition like MMA or jiu-jitsu or things like that. Each style of fighting 100% is effective. So do I think eye gouges and throat strikes are effective? 100%. Krav Maga teaches you that. But then we also have to look at the consideration, like with the law. Do you really want to be doing a 50 move kata on someone's head? Eye gouging and biting and things like that for extreme circumstances. So I think there has to be some sort of awareness on where we're going, because there's so many different routes we can go in martial arts. Yes, the byproduct is fitness, camaraderie. It helps with athleticism as well, and strength. I think these are all important things that people, gain from doing martial arts. But in terms of effectiveness, they all are effective. For years, Taekwondo got a bad press in MMA. You're not going to throw a spinning hook kick. It's not going to work. I've seen countless MMA fights where people have thrown spinning hook kicks and they are fucking devastating. So I think Taekwondo has a place too. Would I throw a spinning hook kick in a street fight? Probably not. I would use things that would work. So if you're looking at competition jiu-jitsu, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's amazing what they can do. But as far as some of the intricate moves that they can pull off, would you do that in a street fight? Probably not.
Every time I'm rolling and my knee hits the ground for a takedown or for turtle, I'm always in turtle for some annoying reason. I find myself there and I'm like, there is no way this is effective at a pub. Like I just get smashed. I think there are so many elements when it comes to fighting and the art of a martial art. And in your experience, how much individual grit is needed, and how much, like, if you got two people, one's a trained fighter, has no inner fight in there, has no heart, but they've got all the skills. Then you've got someone who's a brawler, no technique, no skill, no knowledge, but has nothing but heart. I know this is that ultimate who would win situation, but where do you think there is that balance between just pure determination and toughness versus skill?
Yeah. So the old cliche saying was, you can't teach heart. And that's true. I think you're born with it. And martial arts teach you about resiliency regardless. It's doing something that's difficult. And I think in my eyes, I think martial arts has been the vehicle to enhance my potential. It's given me the tools to be able to not only be able to defend myself for real in the street, but also helping me cope through the difficult life obstacles that sometimes come your way. And jiu-jitsu is perfect for that. I think jiu-jitsu is one of the few martial arts on the planet where technique triumphs strength. The first 6 months, especially in someone's journey in jiu-jitsu, can be quite demoralizing and a little bit difficult.
That's me right now.
Yeah.
Injured shoulders, knees, and ego.
Yeah. So it can be quite daunting for somebody that's initially starting out, and especially too, like I teach women as well. So I've had like a 45, 50 kilo woman come into my class. She must have been driving around the complex for about an hour, contemplating on whether or not she wanted to come in. So she was so timid and shy and apprehensive. And 5, 6 years later, I awarded her blue belt last year.
How good.
Yeah. So, and she's also a sexual assault survivor. So you could understand from her perspective, coming into this environment where majority of it is people that are trained and skilled, it's nerve-wracking. It's very daunting. So I think the martial arts definitely teach you the resiliency. And I think between the two people that you were describing as well, you obviously have one skilled fighter and another person that just has heart and determination. And I think it depends on the scenario. So I've seen situations where people that have been training for quite a long time tap out occasionally. You might get the occasional blue belt that just comes in that just might be a little bit more competitive, that might just catch you. So I think 95, probably 99% of the time, someone that's highly trained will be able to dismantle someone off the street. But then there might be occasionally that 1% where you just get lucky. And it's similar to like striking too. All it takes is just one fucking punch, one clean hit to the jaw, and then lights out. So Heart is something that you can't teach in martial arts. Resiliency is something that is earned through arduous and prolonged hard work.
Mm.
So these are things and skills that I think that people can acquire through training.
I have only started my jiu-jitsu journey probably 4 months ago, right? Not very long. And when I first started, I was like, so not embarrassed because I'm very used to being in awkward situations or being the new guy or not being skilled at all, right? But like I'm 34 and I'm like, oh, it sucks to be able to start from scratch on something. Like I'm pretty keen to get to that skill level. And I think us as humans, we like to rush past the journey and we're like, I can't wait until I'm a black belt. But it's like, dude, you actually, in order to wear that black belt or the blue belt or whatever it is, you need to get beaten up here. You need to learn how it feels when you're in someone's mount. And you need to learn how it feels when you can't breathe. You need to learn how it feels, how to get choked. You need to learn everything. You need to even learn how it feels when you've got someone in your triangle and you can't get them because you didn't get it the correct way. So it's almost like you need to learn these little tricks along the way that warrants your level of success and achievement of wearing that blue belt. And you can't fast track that. Now, I did ask one of the coaches last week. I said, how long does it take to get a black belt? Is it still 10 years? Because that seems to be it takes 10 years. And then you hear, you can actually get it in 4. So like having 4 black belts, this is a 2-part question. Which one is the hardest to get in your experience? And 2, what is the right time frame to get a black belt in a discipline?
Yeah, so it's a very well diverse question. So I think certain martial arts you can get a black belt as young as 10. Karate and Taekwondo. I've got a black belt in both karate and Taekwondo, and yeah, still took a reasonably long time to acquire those belts. I think hands down the hardest belt was Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because, yeah, it's long and arduous. Like it took me about 10 years to get my Jiu Jitsu black belt because there's so much intricacy and technique involved. It's the hours on the mat. So they don't just give away fucking black belts easily in BJJ. You have to do your time. So it's kind of like getting a doctorate. Like in doctoral medicine, like it would literally take almost about the same duration of time to get a jiu-jitsu black belt as if you were to do something in medicine. It takes an awfully long time. So for me, yeah, the hardest belt was BJJ. And I think the average time frame that you can sort of look at is roughly between 10 to 15 years. There are a few exceptions though. So some people I've known have gotten their black belt in 5, 6, or even 7 years. Like BJ Penn, for example, former UFC welterweight champion, he got his black belt in 4 years. He won a world championship at brown belt, I think. And then you have some of Eddie Bravo's students. So Eddie Bravo, who was a well-known jiu-jitsu practitioner who famously choked out Hoyler Gracie with a triangle choke. He had a couple of students that came from a breakdancing background, and they got their black belt, I think, in 1.5 or 2 years of training because they were able to apply the tools that they learned from breakdancing into jiu-jitsu. Like passing the guard is so easy. I just do a handstand and walk over you because they can spin on their hands and they can spin on their head and do all these sorts of amazing things. The quickest I've ever heard anyone get a jiu-jitsu black belt was Travis Stevens. So Travis Stevens was a silver Olympic medalist in judo. He got his black belt in 18 months under John Danaher. So he already had prior grappling experience. He was a judo elite athlete. That was the fastest I've ever heard anyone get a jiu-jitsu black belt, 18 months. But for the average person, roughly it would be around 10 to 15 years to get a jiu-jitsu black belt.
Man, what I've found interesting about my very early jiu-jitsu journey is it's very addictive. I am absolutely obsessed. I fall asleep. I think about rolls. I dream about it every single time, like throughout the day. my partner will be like, what are you thinking about? Is it work? Is it? And I'm like, no, it's actually jiu-jitsu and the role I did yesterday and how I could have, like, it's so addictive. But in the early process of the first 2 months, I'm like, I don't understand how it can become addictive because all you're doing is just being in pain. Like, what is it in you when you were starting out? What kept you turning up after just constantly getting beaten up and being in pain? Because the first month sucks.
Yeah.
You just always, someone's testicles is in your face. There's body odor. You can't breathe. You're in pain. Like, I don't understand why you keep turning up.
Yeah.
I kept turning up because this is my second or third attempt at doing jiu-jitsu, and my goal is to do one martial art for 1 year. I really like boxing. I really like Muay Thai, but I only ever stop after like 3-4 months. I'll stop, right? And I'm like, no. Let's pick one and do it for a full year as a personal thing. So that's what got me past the first few months. Now I'm a little bit better and I'm not just getting always beaten up. But in your early stages, what kept you turning up as a young kid?
I think because I had a chip on my shoulder. I had a little bit of ego as well. And everyone has ego when they first start jiu-jitsu, is you're going to get your ass handed to you with people that are smaller and weaker than you. My first introduction to Brazilian jiu-jitsu was quite humbling. I got my ass handed to me by a girl. Yeah, she fucked me up. She must have only been about 50 kilos or something like that. And I had her on the ground. Obviously, I was able to take her down. I had a little bit of prior grappling experience. But it's a whole different, mindset when you grapple with someone. So I pinned her down. I had her in kind of some sort of kezakatame or scarf hold headlock position. And I could just feel her scooching around to my back. And meanwhile, I'm getting fucking tired. Like, I'm exhausted. This has been about 2 minutes of me holding her down, trying to figure out how I can submit her. Eventually, she scurries around, gets to my back. She inserts both her feet as hooks on the inside of my hips. She gets a seatbelt grip, and I'm thinking, oh, shit, she's got my back. And then she was able to grab my gi, and I'm defending, and I'm trying to defend, and she grabbed my gi, and then she was able to collar choke me. And I almost fucking blacked out. I'm not going to tattoo a girl. And it was the most humbling experience, because that night I drove home and I'm thinking, fuck, I've got so much to learn. Like, I thought I had some, fighting experience, which I did, but it's just a whole different game. It's like if you apply table tennis to regular tennis, completely different. Yeah, and that's the misconception. So yeah, I kind of just had a bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I've always been someone to not quit and learn. Like, if I'm going to really dive into this, I want to learn this. I want to get a black belt in this. I want to be able to. You'll never really master anything. You can always improve, but you can just become that 1% better every time. And yeah, it was just such a huge shock that someone smaller and weaker could just overpower me with technique and leverage. And it's kind of like that David versus Goliath analogy in the Bible story, where David swings his slingshot and he flicks the rock and he hits Goliath in the head and, knocks him out. So it really is a martial art where the little guy can beat the big guy.
Yes.
Exactly like how you see in the Bruce Lee movies. It's amazing art. So I think that was the main driver. Was I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder, I had a bit of an ego, but I wanted to learn. And I think people can sort of have two mindsets when they start in any sort of martial art, in particular Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, is you'll either come up with explanations as to why you got beaten, or you're going to say to yourself, okay, I was beaten. I want to learn how I can do that to other people. And if you invest the time in it, if you invest 6 months to 12 months in it, you're going to become pretty proficient. But it's the first 6 months that are the hardest. The first 6 months of rolling and grappling is the hardest, because you're going to get your ass handed to you. You're going to be in a puddle of sweat, as you said. You're going to have people and balls and shit all in your face. So yeah, but then you start to dissect it, and then you realize, wow, 6 months from now, I'll be in a position where, someone new's coming in and they're going to go through the exact same experience.
Yeah.
Like this kind of Lion King circle of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your journey of getting to 4 black belts, what and how long and how long you have been doing martial arts, which is over 30 years, what has martial arts taught you about life? And what are the kind of key takeaways that you've taken from the mats and from the training gyms and you've actually applied outside of life?
I fucking love that question, actually. That's a great question. Um, 100%. I think there's a lot of things that I think I've taken away from martial arts. Just the ability to overcome resiliency and or adversity, being able to overcome hardship and obstacles. It's helped me navigate my way through certain problems. So I kind of look at it like if I'm wrestling with a high level black belt, it's figuring out what the best outcome is going to be. So if I've achieved the mount, I work my way through a hierarchy of steps. I've taken the fight to the ground. I've secured a pin like side control or back control, and then I render my opponent with an arm lock or a choke. It's analyzing the things at hand. And it's similar to how you apply those steps on the mat, how you would apply that in life. So if you're having a problem at work or someone's upset you, it's analyzing the problem at hand and figuring out what the best solution is so you can dissect it through a hierarchy of steps, similar to how you apply that in jiu-jitsu or martial arts. So I think for me, jiu-jitsu or martial arts has just been a way for me to figure out problems and solutions to those problems. It's also made me a kinder person. It's more made me empathetic. It's made me compassionate. It's made me a much better human being, because I think people that are trained, people that have the skill and know how to fight or being able to inflict violence, they're gentle people. Like it's that old saying, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Jordan Peterson said it best. He said, a harmless man is not a good man. A dangerous man is a good man, but has under voluntary control. So you have the capacity for violence, but you learn how to control it. And it's those two in harmony that makes you a good person. Being, docile and being, being like a conformist, not having a backbone, that makes you weak. Look at all these tragic mass shootings that happened in America. If only those individuals got into martial arts, if only they had some sort of direction in life, and at times in crisis, especially now more than ever, I think masculinity is super important, because masculine people or people that are trained in violence, they're going to be protectors to society. They're going to be protectors. So I think in general, martial arts has made me kinder, more empathetic. It's made me compassionate. It's made me more understanding for people. Yeah, it's just the benefits have just outweighed, so much of the negative, especially what people say about, toxic masculinity and all this shit that just seems to get thrown around on the internet.
You're so right about understanding what you can inflict on someone. It makes you probably less willing to do it because it's been done to you.
Yes.
So what I have noticed about already in my early jiu-jitsu learnings is that I get hurt. Like people inflict pain on me.
Yeah.
And so I'm still navigating, am I allowed to hurt them? And I'm noticing, like I'll go to do something, I'm like, oh, that might hurt them, I'll pull back. And then as I'm rolling with someone who's probably a bit bigger than me, tougher than me, stronger than me, I'm like, oh, I can actually apply this. And then I'm starting to understand how to inflict pain in the right way and in a safe way. And then it definitely equips me with the knowledge of understanding what is painful and what isn't. Yeah. And so if there was ever a real life situation, I can very quickly determine this would hurt them and know what wouldn't.
Yep.
And I guess if you are untrained, you don't know what level of pain you're inflicting because you probably haven't felt that pain as well. Yeah. It's a really kind of interesting, really fascinating journey of pain, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, you started when you were 8 years of age into martial arts. 6 years of age. That's grade 1, right? What drew you in? Was it you as an individual? Was it your parents? What brought you into martial arts? What started that journey?
Yeah, so mum enrolled me in my first Taekwondo school. I think I was actually 5. So I started 5. And she enrolled me because I had a keen interest. Like I was watching The Karate Kid.
Hmm.
Bruce Lee was on the television as well. So mum saw me, just fixated on the TV and just watching. And, mum was sort of in a situation where she wanted to get the kids involved in some sort of sports. And we tried all sorts of things. We played tennis, soccer, rugby. We did athletics. We did all sorts of things. But initially, I think mum got me enrolled into Taekwondo. And I always say the greatest gift my mum ever gave me, other than life, was enrolling me into martial arts. That's one thing that I always hold dearly. Is mum got me involved into martial arts at a young age, because it's just been a fucking huge help, just with everything that I do, and it's just opened up so many other doorways for me. It's maybe being able to connect with so many different people, meet different people, help different people, like it's just opened up doorways for me to, because some of my students have come from domestic violence and sexual assault. I had a student of mine who unfortunately was a rape victim. So martial arts has just opened up a whole ripple of just positive outcomes. And I definitely thank mum for getting me enrolled in such a young age.
When you were in school, so obviously you started Taekwondo or martial arts before you even started school, right? Now, everybody at some stage in the 12 years in schooling faces bullies.
Yep.
For whatever reason it might be, but everyone kind of faces oh my gosh, these kids are bigger than me and they're picking on me to some degree. How did having a martial arts experience and background from a young age, how did that help you when you were faced with the schoolyard bullies?
Yeah, so I mean, kids can be so cruel; they really can, and I've seen firsthand what goes on in playgrounds. But then again, like I think it still goes on. Not only do children have to worry about being bullied in the playground, there's cyberbullying. There's now the kids have social media. They take it online too. So it can be quite debilitating. So I was very fortunate enough to be in a world where TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram didn't exist, but I had to deal with the problems in the playground. But see, I think the thing that martial arts gave me was confidence, assertiveness. So, and they've done this proven studies as well. Like they've asked criminals, especially that have been incarcerated in jails, how likely were you to mug this victim? They've done study on it. Oh, well, I go by their body language. If they're hunched over and they're very recluse and, they seem a bit weak, that seems like a good target. Whereas I think bullies tend to pick on people that are weaker, and obviously they have some sort of insecurity within themselves. So yeah, I was a little bit subjected to bullying, but I think there comes a point where unfortunately violence, I always say violence is never the answer, but sometimes it's the only answer. And I remember I was talking to a dad. His son got into a bit of a bullying situation. He's actually ended up hitting the other kid, and he's just been bullied throughout this whole entire journey for the last year. And he said to him, I'm proud of you. What you did was wrong. And I understand it was the only thing you had to do, regardless of being suspended. It sucks, but I'm proud of you. And that speaks a lot of volume. So even though he had to resort to violence, the bullying stopped. So that's what I mean. I think violence is never the answer, but sometimes it's the only answer. And I think martial arts give you the confidence. It gave me the confidence to be able to be assertive and to be able to carry myself in a way where I wouldn't be so much of a target.
I had a situation recently where there was a conversation that was getting pretty hairy. There was some offensive language, some loud voices, and some pointing. And funnily enough, it was because only in the weeks leading up to this, I have been rolling quite consistently, and I have been feeling the pain, being given pain, giving out the pain. And in that moment of heated exchange, something in the back of my head said, this could escalate. And it was a little switch that went, okay, well, if it does go to there, you've been doing that for the last few months. It's not that scary. And there was a weird sense of, in no way was it, did I probe them or prompt them or try and get it to that level. But there was a confidence of, if it does go there, it's not going to be as scary as it usually would. Because I've been in situations where I think, geez, this might escalate to, like, am I going to get punched in the face? And I pull right back, right? But in the moments of training and like, 4 months leading up into boxing or whatever, I'm like, yeah, okay, if it does, I'm okay. So there definitely is a sense of analyzing very quickly, steps ahead. If this escalates, I'm comfortable with it, which gives you that backbone, which gives you that chest up, which gives you that, okay, well, let's see how far it goes. Which then I do feel in turn with bullies, it makes them go, oh shit, my first round of trying to scare them didn't work. This may escalate. And typically, after the discussions that we've just understood, if you know violence, you're less likely to dish it out.
Yeah.
Bullies don't know violence. I mean, I can't say that because sometimes a lot of people are getting bullied because of their violent home life. But they seem to be inexperienced in combat. It's very rare to find a bully who has a black belt.
Yeah, and I think as I touched on too, like bullies are insecure. There's something deep within them where they feel compelled to have to prove themselves because maybe they didn't get the attention or validation as a child. So it does stem from childhood as well, especially abuse and things like that. And I'm not knocking kids that have been abused. I think it's atrocious what kids go through, especially within homes. We're seeing more and more broken homes now. I mean, we've had a 30% spike in crime across the country in Australia, which is insane. We're seeing more and more children obviously being subjected not only to bullying, but cyberbullying. And now that the government has implemented a social media ban for anyone under the age of 16, which I think is a great idea. But yeah, still, I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done within our school curriculums and environments to keeping our kids safe. But yeah, I think bullying especially, they feel threatened. So they have to latch onto someone and prove themselves. So yeah, and I think if you have the capability of violence, you know how to defend yourself, you got nothing to prove. And quite frankly, some of the kindest, most benevolent, thoughtful people I've ever met in my life are trained killers. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess it's because they're fully aware of what they're capable of doing.
100%. And I think if you know how to take care of yourself, you're capable, you have the capacity for violence, but then you use it accordingly, that makes you a good person. So being able to control yourself when your emotions come into play, yeah, and only using it if necessary, because there's always this line that people cross. So especially in men, we're in a situation, we're in a group of men, we know that there's a line that we don't cross. If we do cross that line, violence happens.
Talking about someone's mother, someone's sister.
Yeah.
Those jokes are off limits. Well, depends how good of a friend you are.
Yeah. So you're going to be more respectful.
Yeah.
You're going to be more respectful. You're going to understand that you've got nothing to prove. And me personally, like if I want violence, I'll go spar with my students. I'll go roll with my students. I'll hit up some of my MMA friends and we'll have a bit of a punch on. That's if I want violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, mate, I'm at the very beginning of my jiu-jitsu career. Now, I have a habit of getting obsessed too early and getting addicted to something and and it's a sprint. And to the point, then I will get over it. And my aim this year is just turn up 2 to 3 times a week. My aim is twice. And so I feel great when I turn up 3 times, right? But what would your advice be to someone in my position who's brand new to it, who is loving it and really wants to continue it and get better and not constantly get beaten up? What would your advice be to someone?
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you've got your whole life ahead of you to fine tune your grappling experience. So understand that the learning part of it happens through tapping out regularly. Understand that you're going to be tapping out against people smaller and weaker than you. Understand that it's going to have periods of time where you might plateau and it's frustrating. But if you can overcome those hurdles and just stick with it, the rewards outweigh everything else. And that's what I say to people. I say to people that stick with it and also don't be don't sort of go too hard. Like, if that makes sense. A lot of people, when they start jiu-jitsu, they just want to win all the time. And that's how injuries happen. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I think if you can start to relax a little bit more instead of just going like a pit bull, get in there, roll and wrestle and learn, roll with people the same skill level as you, roll with people that are a little bit high level than you. And I think that's why it's always important to be in a good school as well. Be in a good school with a good coach that gives you the right tools, and understands where you're coming from, because everyone's been on that same path that you're currently on. Everyone's been on that path in their jiu-jitsu journey where they feel like shit
Yeah.
because it sucks. Like, no one likes being in a position where they have to tap out to someone that's smaller, weaker, or let alone my experience when I tapped out to a girl. And there's some phenomenal female students that I've got, some phenomenal and phenomenal women especially too. You can learn from women, and I think it's good for men and women to sort of interchange and wrestle, because you can learn too. Like, what can women learn from men? What can men learn from women? Me personally, from rolling with some of my female students, I've learned to stay a little bit more relaxed, work more on not strength, work more on technique. That's kind of the thing that I've learned from women. They have to be very technical, so learning to become more comfortable on my back from inside guard so you can learn. So yeah, I think don't rush it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Don't be so equipped to be like a pit bull and just try and win all the time. Understand that you're going to tap out, and that's all part of the learning experience. But more importantly, you have so many other resources now. And I think most people that start jiu-jitsu now might get their black belt a lot quicker than I did, because when I started jiu-jitsu a little bit late, but there weren't too many black belts around when I started. Now there's a lot more black belts. You have a lot of online learning materials as well. You can have a lot more people to be able to help you. So I think you'll probably excel a lot quicker than I ever did. So that would be my sort of advice.
And what about on the actual practical side of rolling, right? Is there a specific position that you would suggest kind of focusing on more, or a sweep or a choke or something in the early stages?
Yep. Learn to wrestle with your legs.
Yes.
Learn to get good with your legs. So your legs obviously carry you around day in, day out, but you're not going to tire as quickly from learning to wrestle with your legs. Some of the best wrestlers I've seen, like Khabib Nurmagomedov, obviously former UFC champion, amazing what he could do, especially with his grappling and his skill level, how he used to just dominate people and make them carry his body weight. He would just, even when he's in the mount, he'd think about controlling them with his legs. So learn how to use your legs, learn how to wrestle with your legs, learn how to pummel and utilize your legs and kind of make it like your legs are arms. Some of the best guard players, like if you look at BJ Penn, for example, he was phenomenal at his guard. His legs move like arms. So I think learning to wrestle with your legs a lot more, learning to get good at escapes, because if you get good at escapes, that will help your offense game. You're going to take more risks. You're not going to be so inclined, to just be a little bit timid. I don't know if I should maybe try something, because then I'll get reversed and maybe I'll lose this position or whatever. So I think getting very good at escapes would be solid in your jiu-jitsu journey. Learning how to escape the back, learning how to escape side control, get out of knee ride, learning what to do when someone's in mount. And if you get taken back there, you'll relax, you know how to get out. So it's going to help your offense game a lot more. You're going to be able to take a lot more risks.
What about avoiding being in less dominant positions? So I'm in this two mind at the moment. I always end up in turtle, right? And I always end up people in my guard. And from there, I don't really know what to do. And I remember thinking, even though it is technically being someone in my guard I'm in power, I don't know what to do in it. So it's almost like, I don't know which position I should be in. Learning how to be in a position of not in power to learn how to get out of it, or try and be in positions of power as much as I can.
Yep.
That's a hard question to even formulate from my end. But do you understand what I'm trying to say?
So you're on your back, someone's inside your guard, and you don't know what to do?
No.
So I'd be thinking about, if you're rolling in the gi, I'd be thinking about control with your sleeves, collar, sleeves, posture control, try and pull them in. But then also you have to open your guard to be able to execute attacks. So you'll start to figure out that your body is kind of like a cage. So your body is kind of like like a set of wedges. Your body needs to intertwine in your training partner's body and then be able to capitalize that with enclosing wedges. So if you're inside guard, deep overhook,
Mhm.
collar tie, control, and that works obviously for MMA and self-defense, so they can't punch you. Then start to hip escape out, shrimp out a little bit, and start to open up your legs a little bit more, because that sets up triangle chokes, it sets up arm bars. It gives you opportunities to maybe go for sweeps and start to understand and identify opportunities when they're presenting at you. And that's what I mean. Like, if you're staying more relaxed, more opportunities are going to present themselves to you. Like, if we look at two people that fight, right, the person that's a little bit too worked up and they're not thinking straight, you can't concentrate, you need to be relaxed. So I think this is where your own self-awareness is. So worry about yourself first, and then worry about what your opponent's doing next. Use it like that analogy that you use with regards to an airplane. When the oxygen masks come down, you put on your own mask before you help other people. And that's the same thing that I apply in life. Fix yourself first, then everything else you're going to be able to take care of. So I think learn to wrestle with your legs, get good from guard by control, understanding that your body is a set of wedges, being able to open up spaces to set up sweeps, stay relaxed with it, and then it's going to come. So day by day, as you keep chipping away at it, you'll start to identify, okay, well, I seem to be good at this position. Every time someone comes in my guard, I seem to have this where I have his arm like this, and then I've got his head like this. What can I do from here? So you'll start to identify certain things, and different training partners, when you roll with different people, like, you're going to be able to identify their weaknesses, your strengths against them, and vice versa. So having that very much diverse range of opportunities to roll with different people, and then also identifying what you can do. So if you're on your back, I'd be thinking about more sweeps, certain sweeps that you might know. If you're rolling in the gi, maybe start playing a little bit of spider guard, lasso guard, where you wrap their arm and your leg. And these are sort of things that you can learn throughout the course of your time frame on the mat. And then look at opportunities and start utilizing your legs more. Triangle chokes, arm bars, things like that.
Awesome, mate. Hey, thank you so much for joining me on the Shamer Show. I very much appreciate it, and getting insight into 4 black belts and what I'm going to take on my jiu-jitsu journey. So thanks so much, man.
You're welcome, mate. Thank you very much. Awesome.